Unless you come from an already wealthy family, chances are you've never really had a proper education on money and finance. Sadly, it's not something we learn in school, but these 3 books are my best recommendation if you want to learn about money making, how to save, how to invest, how to build a business, just how to become rich in the long run. And I think there are a lot of values to gain from these books, but a lot of recommendations you see on YouTube, they go straight into the very niche and technical financial advice, when most of us have a starting point that is very low. Apart from earn more money than you spend, that's about as far as our money education goes. And so with these 3 books recommendation, that will give you everything you need to understand money, understand how accumulating wealth works, how you can invest this money to earn more income in the long run. And I also have one recommendation about the basics of business and money making in a professional environment, which I think is very important, and you'll understand why. My first recommendation is The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason. I think this is by far the best starting point for anyone. The author is an economist that wrote this book to give basic yet universal education on money to as many people as possible. And the best part is that everything is written in fiction form, in short stories. It takes place in the kind of fictional world of Babylon, and we follow different characters, and each short story serves as a lesson and a way to see the lessons in practice and how that works. It dumbs down money making, because instead of talking in euros or dollars, it just talks in gold coins. Instead of talking about your bank account and all that, it just talks about having a purse, and fattening that purse is a term that comes back in the book many times. And it teaches you everything. How do you save money? How do you come out of debt? How do you stop feeling like you're always running out of money, that you can never hold it to yourself? How can you increase the level of your lifestyle? How you can start your first investments? How banking works. There is a short story with the gold lender, which is the bank, and it just explains the point of view of the bank. How do they make money? And so what are they looking for with their clients? Therefore, you, when you come to a bank to ask for money, when you understand how that works, you know how to prepare yourself for such situations. You know what type of profile you need to have if you want to be friends with the bank. And it teaches you all of that in such a simple way that I think this book should even be studied by people as soon as they turn 14 or 15. They can already start to understand everything. But that being said, even if you're 25, 30, 40, you still have a lot to learn from this book. As I said, if, like many of us, you've never had an actual financial education. There is also 2 short stories on luck, relying on luck to get lucky, or thinking that rich people are just lucky people. There's also another one about dedication, discipline, understanding that acquiring wealth takes some time, and usually the ones that achieve it are the ones that have been patient enough to push through even when they started doubting themselves. So, The Richest Man in Babylon, perfect entry point. The second book is probably the most cliché book in the financial advice environment, and that's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But I still want to throw it in, because if this book is money explained in a very simple way with fictional characters and very basic terms, this is pretty much the same thing in our modern world, with real money, real banking, real investments. And even though it explains very simple ideas and concepts behind assets, liabilities, investments, wealth, you're still going to enjoy this book much better if you've already studied this one, because that will be the base layer, that will be where we start building our actual financial knowledge. The main takeaway I got from this book, apart from all the vision about how one goes to acquire wealth, is that they spend a really long time explaining this idea of assets and liabilities. Assets being things that you own that bring money into your pocket, and liabilities being things that you own that put money out of your pocket. A car is a liability. As soon as you buy it, it loses value, it costs in insurance, gas, in repair. You're just going to lose money. So it teaches you how to analyze everything you own in your life and to see whether it's an asset or a liability. Chances are most people only have liabilities, so we want to build our assets column, let's say. And the key takeaway I learned from that is that being rich or being wealthy is not about having a high income. Even if you earn 10K a month, you can still be considered less wealthy than someone who earns maybe 3K a month, but that have an asset column much higher than his expenses. And so that means that he passively earns more than he loses. So even by doing nothing, he gets even more rich every single month. That is true wealth. Having a high income just means that you can buy more things, and usually these things are liabilities. So you buy more things that make you lose more money. And in the end, your purchasing power and your wealth and the things you possess and your asset column is still the same, and you're not really rich. So with these two books, you should have a good understanding of money and have a good basic financial education. But what these two books will tell you is that you need to start by earning money in some ways. You need to get an income through working or through starting a business. And it's with this money that you earn that you learn to separate it, invest it, save it, and also use it to live. Because they teach you ways to save money and invest that money and still make room for enjoying life. That's how you stay in the game in the long run. And my last book recommendation will therefore be Business for Punks. If you don't know me, I've done a master degree in wine and spirits marketing. It was an MBA, a Master of Business and Administration, in a business school with a focus on the alcohol industry. And so for 2 years, I've had classes on finance, marketing, sales, strategy, brand building, all of these things. And towards the end of my second year, a few weeks before the exams, I came across this book that was written by the founder of BrewDog, which is one of the most famous craft brewery that became extremely popular and gained a lot of money and started to even scare the big industrial groups because of how good they were in business. And one of the two founders of this brewery wrote this book where he gives all his lesson on starting a business, getting the business running, making your brand known, getting money, working with team, marketing, communication, finance, investment, everything. And I was shocked because when I was reading it, as I said, it was towards the end of my studies, and I felt that this book contained every single thing I had seen over the last 2 years of my studies, but in a way that made so much more sense. It goes more in depth, and at the same time, it's so much more accessible that you actually get much more value from reading this book than 2 years doing a master's degree in business. It's crazy. And even though this book is in the wine and spirits industry as well, alcohol industry, the advice is universal, can be applied to any sort of business. So if you want to take the entrepreneur route, start making money on your own, either as a side project or even if you've built an actual thing that you want to make a living from, if you read that, you'll have more actual knowledge than if you just go for 2 years in a business school trying to learn these very things. So there you go, guys. 3 books recommendation to learn the basics of money, to go more in depth in how do you actually become wealthy and how you can actually turn your skills into an income by starting a business, and how business works explained in a very detailed yet simple way. As men, we all aspire to make money, make a good living, afford the lifestyle that we want to have. And even though a lot of things don't really rely on money, it would be lying if I said that making money wouldn't really help us in the long run. And having a proper financial education, I think, is the first step to acquiring wealth. Now, of course, don't get stuck in the theory and go to work, get that income coming, put in some hours. But buying these 3 books probably costs 30 euros, but these 30 euros maybe will turn into tens or 100,000 of euros in the long run. So if you use the knowledge wisely, that could definitely change your life. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. See you guys.